What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Undefeated Post-Weigh-In Show. This is the last undefeated post-weigh-in show of the year 2022. Had to go a little special here. I know it's tinfoil hat season, but we got to change it up a little bit for this one. We are talking about UFC Vegas 66. We're taking one final look at these fighters as they step on the scales, as they face off with each other, and we try to find any extra little edge that we can to put some extra money in your pockets. So do me a favor, subscribe here to Pup Sports Radio if you have not already. Hit that like button and remember that all these lines are brought to you by Superbook Sports. Let's dig straight on into it. We've got Sergey Morozov taking on Journey Newsom. We've got Morozov 136, Newsom coming in at 135 and a half. Strong flex and a solid grr face from Sergey Morozov, looking good on the scales today, I must say. Journey Newsom, intense, crazy eyes, gave a strong flex. You never mess with the crazy eyes. Significant height advantage when these guys faced off for Sergey Morozov. He is the much larger human being in there. This was a very respectful face-off. I am fully in the Morozov camp for this one after a couple disappointing outings. He has an opponent here that he matches up very well with stylistically, somebody who can be hurt, who's been cracked, chin questions, and just not really an overall good game plan compared to what his opponent can do. As long as Morozov minds his P's and Q's with that neck and doesn't get guillotined in the second round, he should win this fight. David Dvorak coming in at 125 and a half, taking on Manel Kape, who came in at 126. Dvorak is absolutely chiseled. This is one of these guys that slices his way all the way down, not an ounce of fat on him. Threw up one arm, looking good on the scales. No issues for Manel Kape. He's a guy who struggled on the scales before, so good to see that he was doing well today. Very relaxed up there, spread his arms wide, kind of enjoying the moment. When they faced off, he put some sunglasses on, which, yeah, it's a cardinal sin if you're doing it on the scales because you're hiding, your cracked out eyes or something like that. I want to be able to see into your soul, but at the face-offs, it's like, all right, you get a pass. This was intense. He went nose to nose with David Dvorak and even got to the point where he took the sunglasses back off so he could stare into Dvorak's soul. This is a good fight. Slight size advantage for David Dvorak. I lean with Manel Kape. I do think that he probably gets the victory here, but both these guys, big punchers, low volume. I could see this one being a fight where you don't know who won it at the end of 15 minutes. Could go either way. Be careful on this one, folks. Brian Battle taking on Rinat Fakhretdinov. We got Battle coming in at 170 on the dot. Fakhretdinov did need that one extra pound, 171. Brian Battle had his eyes half shut. He kind of gave a half-hearted flex. I'll be honest, he's a big guy for the division, and this is a massive weight cut for him. Every single time, this is a massive weight cut for him. So I'm not shocked that he struggled on the scales today. Now, Fakhretdinov, on the other hand, extremely pale. This guy probably spends all his time in a wrestling room. He needs to get some sun. No issues for him. Threw his arms up. He's very excited about this opportunity. These guys size up well. I expected a size advantage for Brian Battle, if I'm being completely honest. He's such a big guy, makes such a tough cut. I expected more when they faced off, but they're relatively equal, and Brian Battle looked exhausted. Like, even at the face-offs, he looked like he could barely be bothered to be there and kind of slunk his way off the stage. Now, he may rehydrate just fine. He may have no problems in the fight tomorrow, but he looked completely wiped from his weight cut this time around, and he's coming in on short notice. I was kind of a Brian Battle guy. I was leaning to that side earlier in the week. This type of a weight cut is enough to completely scare me off of that side. I want nothing to do with Brian Battle in this fight anymore. I am not interested in adding him to my card at plus money. Maybe if he's looking good on fight night, in the middle of the fight, we add live bets on him or something like that. But right now, I'm passing on it, and it would be shifting over to the favorite, someone who I think can absolutely grind an exhausted short notice opponent without much of an issue. We've got Rafa Garcia taking on Mahashate, who, by the way, I think we have a first name. Hacier? I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but I am just excited because we've all been calling him Mahashat for so long. He actually has a first name, and we've discovered that today, so I feel very blessed this day. Now, Rafa Garcia came in at 155. Mahashat blew it 158 and a half. You can always count on Rafa Garcia. He's strong, absolute tank of a man, no issues, intense on the scales. Mahashat, on the other hand, young kid, looks huge. Not sucked out either. He's got some of that, kid face chub, you know what I'm talking about? I'm not body shaming him or calling him fat, but, you can tell, like, you get the chiseled man jawline versus some of these kids that have slightly rounder faces. Still the baby fat, if you will. Like, he still kind of got that type of face. He was not sucked out at all. This seemed like one of those ones where either he's looking for an advantage or he knew he wasn't going to make it and stopped the cut early because there was no chance in hell he was cut down well enough to make this fight. Maybe it's a medical concern. They told him to stop, something like that, but big weight miss for Mahashat, and he is massive. When these guys faced off, he looked like he was a full weight class larger than Rafa Garcia. Now, you got to give Rafa credit where it's due. The man is broad. He is very, very wide, so it's not like he's a small individual, but he is undersized when compared to his opponent here in this spot. I thought about taking the flyer on Mahashat. Money is pouring in on Rafa Garcia with the weight miss news. I can understand. I know everybody on Rafa Garcia is doing so with the intent of this man being fully capable of grinding. But Mahashat being a young kid, capable of making big leaps and bounds improvements during his fights, and then also having this kind of a size advantage and not draining himself for a weight cut, like, I would still be tempted on the Mahashat side. I do not have a bet on Mahashat at this point, but I'm just saying, like, if I'm going to bet this one, that's the only way I'm looking at it, is at the underdog, because all these factors lining up, like, if he had sucked himself down, if he had a really rough weight cut trying to make it, absolutely. Rafa Garcia can grind for 15 minutes, no problem. I want to be on the grinder against a guy that missed weight and looks like he's going to gas out. But when you've got a young, full-strength, powerful kid who's probably made some improvements and is carrying an extra 5-6 pounds come fight night over the top of you, I don't want to step in front of that train right now, especially with the type of knees and power this kid brings to the table. So, complete pass for me right now, but I'm leaning still towards the dog Mahashat. We have got Saidyoukub Kakramanov taking on Said Nurmagomedov. We've got both guys coming in at 136 pounds. Saidyoukub Kakramanov was the second man to the scale today, looked very relaxed, looked very confident, and he cannot be shaken right now. Said Nurmagomedov, sunken eyes badly. He moved well enough, but his mouth was hanging open, like he kind of had that dry mouth thing going on. He's okay. This isn't one of those, like, you know, throw up the bat signal, this is a bad weight cut type of things, but those are the signs of somebody who did have it a bit rough making it down to the weight class. Now, he's a big guy for this division, so again, not overly surprising. We can't judge him too harshly on that. When they face off, Said Nurmagomedov, I think he took something personally. He came in here and went like forehead to forehead with Saidyoukub. He's looking angry. He's looking mean, chip on the shoulder, trying to punk Saidyoukub. Saidyoukub wasn't having it, man. He was like laughing it off the entire time, smiling, confident in himself, even though his opponent was trying to get into his head. I love the attitude of Saidyoukub coming out of this whole situation. Now, I already have a bet on Saidyoukub Kakramanov. That's the first bet I made this week, plus 100. Even money. He's sitting about minus 115, minus 110 in most places right now. He's minus 110 over on Superbook Sports. I still like that side. It's a coin flip for a reason, but I think this is a ceiling situation. Saidyoukub is the future, in my opinion. I love this kid. I think he is legit. And on top of that, we are not getting a Khabib Nurmagomedov. This is a cousin brother. Like, this is not somebody who's in the direct lineage of the Nurmagomedovs. This is a Smith. He's one of the other Nurmagomedovs. And he doesn't even fight like the other Russian Nurmagomedovs. And for that reason, I think we're going to have Saidyoukub actually being the better grappler of the two in this spot. I fully expect him to grind. I fully expect him to work over Said Nurmagomedov. And on top of that, folks, with him having a full camp, I think he's going to be even stronger and more dangerous. I may take the sub prop, and I may take that round 3 sprinkle, because Saidyoukub has prided himself on finishing his opponents and even getting a big step up in competition here on the big stage in the UFC. I listened to an interview with him, and he talked about putting it all together now after getting his feet wet in the organization. This is his big moment. He's ready for it, and he wants to show off. So I do believe that he's going to come out and put everything he possibly can into actually getting a finish in this fight. And if he puts the kind of pace on Said Nurmagomedov that we know he can, I think he can get it. I like that round 3 sprinkle. It's like 14-1, I believe, this week as well. So keep an eye out for that. Jake Matthews taking on Matt Semmelsberger. Both guys made 171 pounds. Both guys look good on the scales. We've got Jake Matthews doing the white person no teeth smile, like when you pass somebody you kind of know in the hallways. And you've got Matt Semmelsberger up there who's got a serious man bun game going on right now. These guys size up well. They're both very big and strong for the division. This was a respectful face-off. No issues here on this one for either guy, but I do think this is a very competitive fight size-wise. Jake Matthews, I kind of feel like maybe he's a little bit overhyped after his last fight. This is a big swing from people thinking he's a giant underdog to his last opponent. I don't know that he should necessarily warrant a minus 300 price tag, but I do still kind of think he gets the win. I talked about it on Monday where I thought it was kind of dog or pass from a betting perspective, and I think I was being just a little too hipster, right? Like, I was the guy pounding the drum for Jake Matthews. I was the guy last time out talking about how good Jake Matthews was, and now I'm going to sit here and say that he's going to lose to Matt Semmelsberger, somebody who he's got more experience than, more high-level experience than, somebody he's probably more got, he's got more skills than, he's more well-rounded than. Yeah, I mean, Jake Matthews could potentially get nuked by Matt. We've seen that happen before, but I do think he's well-rounded enough to go ahead and get the win in almost any aspect of this fight. I will pick Jake Matthews to get the win, but again, probably not laying too much chalk on him at this point, beyond just maybe throwing him in a parlay or something like that, because I can definitely see the threats that Matt Semmelsberger brings to the table. I'm just not sure what that guy's ceiling is anymore. Like, I really thought he was going to be something, but he's a bit older. He's already in his prime. Like, what more are we going to see from Matt Semmelsberger? I don't know if he's going to be like a late career surge type of guy or not. We'll have to wait and find out. Cory McKenna taking on Cheyanne Vlismas. Both women made 115 and a half pounds. Cory McKenna is ghostly white. That girl also needs some sun. Had a very deer in the headlights look on the stage today. Can't fault her for that. It's a big day. Weigh-ins, no problem. No issues for her. Cheyanne looked fantastic. She gave her classic one-arm flex pose. Very solid shape. She showed off her abs on Instagram a little earlier this week. She looks fantastic. When they face off, Cheyanne's slightly larger, but of course, as always, McKenna is slightly thicker. We've got the tall, slim striker versus the wrestler here. This was a very respectful face-off. I'm looking forward to this fight. I'm looking forward to this a lot. I know a lot of people on the Cheyanne side. The team that she's training with over there in Vegas, I can completely understand. You do expect those types of big improvements from her. I think Cory McKenna can still potentially grind here in this spot, but we've also seen with the judges, there is a big deal of not doing damage. If you're not actively attacking your opponent or trying to damage them and you're looking for blanket control, they just don't respect it right now the way that they sometimes have. So I don't know that we necessarily want to take the dog shot on Cory McKenna this week. I kind of lean with Cory McKenna as being a live underdog, but I can also see Cheyanne Vlismas learning from somebody like Chris the Action Man Curtis and just being hard to take down. And if she's difficult to take down and Cory McKenna can't quite get her game going, well, then we end up in a situation where she's going to get outpointed on the feet at range, and we know Cheyanne Vlismas' striking is very smooth. So one that I'm really struggling with here from a pick side, I'm probably just going to go ahead and leave it alone. I guess I'll pick Cheyanne. No, okay, no, I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to stay with McKenna. Cory McKenna. Cory McKenna's getting her hand raised on Saturday by decision. Next up, Cody Brundage taking on Michał Lord Oleksiejczuk. We got Cody Brundage making 185 pounds, Oleksiejczuk 186. Brundage gave a solid flex up there. He had no issues, even though he was the last one to the scale today. I actually thought we were going to see him struggle. I thought we were going to see a bad Cody Brundage today on the scales. No problems. Michał Oleksiejczuk also looked good. Very intense stare today. Moved well. Slight size advantage here for Cody Brundage, which is interesting because Oleksiejczuk just came down from 205. So you always love it when somebody drops a weight class and they end up still not being the bigger person here. Both guys locked in, dead stare from these two. Very extremely intense face-off between these two men here. I am pumped for this fight. This one's going to be really good. I think violence is the way to go. Don't pick a side, but I wouldn't be shocked whatsoever if Cody Brundage survives that first round and ends up taking over and using his grappling in the second and the third and maybe gets a submission or something like that. This fight may not get out of round one. Like, I like violence here in this spot, and I think we've got a very live dog in Cody Brundage. Drew Dober taking on Bobby Green. Both guys made 156. Drew Dober first to the scales. Chin and cheeks, baby. This guy is popping. Look great on the scales. Always. There's nothing else to say about Drew Dober. Bobby Green, very zen on the scales today. Eyes closed, taking deep breaths. No issues or concerns for him. When they face off, Bobby came in hot. He came in talking his ass off. He was talking shit right out the gates to this man. Very intrigued by this fight here. Slight size advantage for Bobby Green. Drew Dober obviously unfazed by all the chitter chatter. He has no problem with his opponent being confident. Both these guys are ready to go and confident in their own skill sets. Bobby talking about how I'm here. I don't know if he thought maybe Drew thought he was ducking him or trying to avoid the fight or something. Really have no idea what that part is all about. But I'm going to pick Drew Dober. However, I'm going to pick this fight going to a split decision. I might actually bet the split decision prop. I do think the over or just fight goes the distance at minus 150. Those are probably the ways to look in this spot. Drew Dober's got serious power, and in the last couple of years, he's really rounded himself out. He's competing at a high level. We can expect good things from him, and he can starch just about anybody at this weight class. But Bobby Green has gone a full 15 minutes with Rafael Fiziev, so there's no question about the toughness and durability of this guy. Only someone like Dustin Poirier has been able to really crack him and put him out. And on top of that, he's a volume guy. Bobby Green doesn't knock anybody out himself. So this one kind of sets up for, even if Bobby Green just takes a bludgeoning, like he's probably going to survive and go ahead and make it the full 15 minutes. And he probably won't be able to put Drew Dober away either. So I think we're going over here for this fight rather than picking a side. Alex Caceres taking on Julian Juicy J Erosa. Caceres made 145. Erosa made 145 and a half. Caceres came jogging up to the scales today. No issues. Love this guy's energy. He's having a great time up there. Julian Erosa looked good. Very calm. Very relaxed. There was no issue here with him as well. Slight height advantage for Alex Caceres. He's always the taller, skinnier guy, but Erosa is one of the few guys in the weight class that can kind of match him in that area. Both guys very tall, very lanky, and all smiles at the face-off today. This is going to be a fun fight. And another one that I kind of lean with the over. Now, Julian Erosa has the power advantage. We've got Caceres working heavily on his grappling game, but I still think Erosa probably is just like one slight notch above him as far as what we've seen in the actual UFC cage for the grappling game. So I'm not quite sure what to do with this one. I don't really want to lay minus 170 or higher on Julian Erosa, but at the same time, I do think that he is probably the side, probably the guy that gets his arm raised. I can't really trust Alex Caceres here, and I also don't know what I want to do because we've seen Julian Erosa's chin be like a real issue in these fights before. We've seen it be a real problem where he's just been starched and taken out by people before. Alex Caceres not a big power puncher, but hey, you never know. We do have confirmed sharp action from Superbook Sports on Bruce Leroy, so do with that information what you see fit. They let me know they did have a respected bettor come in and go ahead and lay it down on the underdog here, Caceres. So I'm staying clear away from this one because I can't get to the dog, so I'm not laying the favorite against that type of action. We've got Amir Al-Bazi taking on Alessandro Costa. I'm still struggling with that name for some reason. It's not that hard, Clint. What are you doing? Amir Al-Bazi, 125 and a half. Alessandro Costa, 125 and a half as well. Amir Al-Bazi, solid frame, well muscled. We love this guy. Costa making his UFC debut. He is a big guy, looking strong, confident flex. No real issues for him in this spot either. Amir is slightly larger and slightly thicker. Costa was absolutely not backing down when he faced off with him. This was a good, solid face-off between these two guys, but Amir Al-Bazi, not a guy I'm used to actually having the size advantage. I mean, he's a fighter that almost never is the big one, so it's kind of intriguing to me to see him have the height advantage here in this spot. So it's an interesting spot. I think Amir Al-Bazi is a solid favorite. I think inside the distance makes sense. I think if he wants to cruise and just kind of grind his way over a guy that's low output, maybe not UFC level, I like Amir Al-Bazi in this spot. Solid parlay piece, should be able to get it done everywhere. I'm interested in Costa though. Like, I want to see what he's capable of. He didn't really surprise anybody or impress on the Contender Series. If he comes out heavy looking for bombs in this type of a fight, we could see a very exciting matchup and potentially a finish. So I'm looking forward to that fight a lot. Co-main event, Damir Ismagulov taking on Arman Tsarukyan. Ismagulov made 156, Tsarukyan 155 and a half. No issues at all for Ismagulov. This guy's a consummate professional, knows what he needs to do up there. Arman Tsarukyan is an absolute tank. This man is jacked. I mean, you don't get more muscle on a human frame than Arman Tsarukyan has. And he has great hair as well. It's not fair. Like, some guys just have all the luck. Ismagulov does have a decent height advantage in this spot, but you've got Arman Tsarukyan, who is much wider than his opponent. So it's not like it's a disadvantage of size. One guy is tall, one guy is wide. We'll see which size or style edges out the victory on Saturday. Earlier in the week, I talked about Damir Ismagulov, just the way this guy knows how to win fights and chips his way to decision wins. It's something that he does very well, something he's very good at. But you know what? I made arguments against Ismagulov in his last fight. I made arguments about the way we've seen him kind of dip in his last couple fights. He's been clipped, he's been rocked, he's been hurt. But that was something that I, for whatever reason, didn't bring up in this particular matchup. Now, Arman Tsarukyan is one of these kids that we've only seen one or two guys in the division, the very cream of the crop, give him any trouble, and he's incredibly young. He's still very much improving and on the rise. I don't want to doubt this kid. I have no reason to go against Arman Tsarukyan. I really don't, because even in his losses, they've been incredibly impressive, and he's checked out against elite tier competition. So do I want to bet against that kind of a kid? No, I do not. Even though earlier in the week I talked about Ismagulov by decision being a play I probably was going to be on, at this point I am passing, and I might as well just sucker up and go with Arman Tsarukyan on the money line if I'm going to do anything, because I don't want to chase value here. We've got a young kid who is functioning at an elite level, who is only getting better, and there's no reason for me to try to get on the other side of him in this spot. No reason whatsoever. So it's favored or pass. I'm going to back Arman Tsarukyan, or I'm doing nothing at all in this spot. Main event time. Jared Cannonier taking on Sean Strickland. Cannonier made 185.5. Sean Strickland 186. And Cannonier came in rocking a monkey hat today. It was really adorable. Pretty funny. Love the guy. He's got a very unique sense of humor. Absolutely jacked. Another person that's just like, how it's not possible. I don't even know. Sean Strickland walked slowly to the scale today. And I mean slowly. We're talking like dragging his feet to the scales today. Looked absolutely terrible. Who knows with Sean Strickland, but frankly, with his fucking attitude, I don't think he's acting. He's not that good of an actor. I really think he was struggling today, and he looked bad. He was basically off for the entire face-offs. Like, they didn't face off. This wasn't intense. He talked a little bit of gibberish, and they kind of held their hands up. Like, this was a very weird face-off here today, and I'm worried about Sean Strickland's weight cut, the way he was acting. Now, he probably refuels just fine, and he is the kind of psychopath that you want to put your money on just because of the way that he fights. Tough fight here. Line did a pick, a -110 either side. I'm still going to stick with Sean Strickland, even though he kind of looked like he was going through it a little bit today at this face-off. I'm going to stick by him. I think he's probably the right side here. His volume, his pace, his striking, I think he'll just be able to kind of overwhelm Jared Cannonier in there. Cannonier obviously can land a nuke at some point. He's always more than capable of that, but we've seen better, slicker strikers just kind of take care of him in these spots. I'm not exactly counting on the highest fight IQ game plan from Sean Strickland, but if he decided to fight at least a little bit smart, he'd be a bigger favorite than this. I think this is a spot where everyone's expecting him to just get knocked out like he did in his last fight. And Jared Cannonier is not the same caliber of striker as Pereira is, so I got to go with Strickland. I think I'm going to probably add Sean Strickland as a bet here for me. I do think the over is in play. I do think Sean Strickland by decision is in play. That's the way I'm leaning for the main event here of this fight card. That is the final undefeated post-weigh-in show of the year of our Lord 2022, everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Smash the like button. Good luck on all your degenerate action. Let's go out with the bag on Christmas this week. Let's have one more good one to wrap up the year. Seriously, love you guys. Thank you all for the support. Good luck. Kick some ass. Let's roll.